With the latest record low for AEW's flagship show, Dynamite, are we finally entering the end game for the company? Eric Bischoff had some thoughts about it. We're going to talk about what he said and what we think about it right now. Let's go.
Real talk, the metaphor messiah, man. I got this one. Let's go. You ever seen the morning star? Mr. Metaphor Messiah, back to show you who we are. I represent a legacy, a pothead like the 70s, a different kind of mind. They say we only speak in melodies. Legend in the game, I think I found a solution. Got a crazy kind of flow, I need a verbal institution. Monster on the mic, I feel like hip-hop then adopted me. You pussy niggas shook, you let them turn this to a mind.
Real talk, the Metaphor Messiah, thank you as always. All right. Eric Bischoff, my God, had some things to say about AEW, as everybody does right now. Well, actually, that number of people talking about AEW does seem to be shrinking every single day. Now, if it seems like I'm a little happy or possibly even giddy about it, well, I've seen it come since the beginning. I'm sorry. Call me an AEW hater all you like. I don't give a shit. I've simply seen clearly since the beginning. Whenever a company is born out of bitterness and anger and hatred and all these other things and resentment, and they simply don't move on, especially one of the original creators, when one of the original creators realizes it all and moves on and nobody else seems to learn lessons or get it, this is what happens. And it's going to be painful, guys. This is going to get worse before it gets better. That's my opine. We're going to get into some of the numbers and a lot of other stuff, but I'll tell you, Eric Bischoff has made waves once again with a lot of people in the community because he is just not holding back anymore. So let's break down what Eric had to say when asked on Ariel Hawali's podcast about AEW.
What about your take on the current state of All Elite Wrestling? What do you think? How are they doing right now?
Yeah, well, they're horrible. Come on. It's just, I've given up. You know, I used to get really frustrated with them because I actually hate seeing people screw up good opportunities. I know what that feels like.
So I think that's the first important thing that I wanted to highlight, because Eric gets a lot of hate for commenting on stuff because he's been pretty much everywhere. He's succeeded. He's failed. He's gone to every promotion. He's worked with anybody who'll pay him. You know, people can say that he is unoriginal. He's a shill. Eric gets a lot of shit, but it doesn't really matter what you think about Eric Bischoff as a character or even as a boss. When you look at what Eric did do before the wheels fell off, before Time Warner, before all the craziness happened, he really did he was the first guy, and this is why he was probably so popular. He was the first guy that really took concepts that people did enjoy from the Far East, from places that no American audience has seen, and he made them palatable in a way that we hadn't seen. Now, you can argue that the NWO was a storyline that was just destined to work when it was brought to the American audience just because of what it was. And it's tough because it's also something that has not been replicated, even though AEW tries to do that. But now I'm starting to wander. Let's see what else Eric has to say. The point is, Eric is an authority here because of where he's been, what he's gone through, and how much he's screwed up. He knows screw-ups. If Eric Bischoff can tell you anything, it's like, yeah, that's a mistake.
And I know how hard good opportunities are to come by.
Good opportunities, blank check, friggin' stupid opportunities. You know, the opportunity that has been afforded to Tony Khan and AEW is ridiculous, and it's been arguably squandered.
So when you see somebody just shooting themselves in the foot day after day, week after week, in every possible way, it's frustrating for me, and I would vent that frustration. Now it's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. There's no hope for them. Nothing.
That is becoming the bigger takeaway for most wrestling fans. This apathy, where we're talking less and less about them on a daily basis. And here's probably the scare. And this is why I don't even fight with AEW fans anymore, because you kind of have to junior them a little bit. It's like when you're representing AEW, you're talking about all these wonderful things, and you can love AEW all you like, but when you're trying to say that they are greater and more than what they actually are, or that they're a true alternative or even better than WWE, well, you got to back that shit up. I'm sorry. That's stuff you have got to back up. And the fact that most wrestling journalist sites or anyone who does ratings won't even put Dynamite or any AEW programming head to head with any WWE main roster programming anymore is very telling. The fact that they have to fabricate this war with NXT now is really, really sad. And it's a war they're losing. NXT continues to do what NXT does. Also changing networks, by the way. Everyone thought that was going to be the end of that. No. The next thing is going to be the saddest of all. Because TNA has been on the rise. And if the numbers keep on dropping for AEW rather, well, that's the next comparable. When do those numbers start being compared? Because, oh boy, that's a sad day.
Nothing's going to turn that company around. There's no light bulb going to go off in anybody's head and all of a sudden realize, oh, this is how we actually get people to watch TV. They have no idea what they're doing and they're too stubborn to learn.
There's no chance for a story to turn like the way NWO turned WCW around. There's no chance of any of that.
Not there.
Why not?
See, I get what Ariel's trying to do here, but I think it's actually very unfair to say that question's a bad question. But plain and simple, it was a bad question because there's no one storyline that ever turns a company around. Not one. DX didn't do it. Even honestly, if you want to claim one storyline's ever turned one pure storyline has ever turned a company around, probably the closest is Austin McMahon. That was one singular storyline with not a lot of other build and things around it at the time. That was kind of the one, then everything built with it. WCW was different in that even before Hall and Nash, or the Hall, and doing the, why I'm here, but you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. There was so much other things happening. They were building a roster from the ground up and using their television time in a way that wrestling just hadn't seen. So there's more to it than just simply saying, is there a one story that could save it? Because that's almost an impossible question. However, the answer that Eric gives here is actually pretty good because you got to be able to tell a story to be able to tell a story.
Because there's nobody there that knows how to tell a story. There's nobody there that knows what a story actually is. It's like, I use this analogy sometimes because it's easy to understand. Boy meets girl, boy gets girl. Boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. That's a story. It's not very compelling. Nobody cares. But if Shakespeare gets a hold of it, it's kind of like a version of Romeo and Juliet. So, yeah, you'll hear the fan base say, "Oh, there's great story. There's stories." Dave Meltzer says the problem with AEW is there's so many stories people can't keep up with them. I kid you not. He said that.
This is one of my favorite things about it too, is because there's people like Dave Meltzer and who, of course, Eric Bischoff has no love lost for Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer has been a big reason why this has gone so, like his inability to read the room and really be honest about the situation. He has slurped them so much to the point where you feel like he feels he can't stop. Like he can't get off of this. The grift is too good. And it's just, it's tough. When you go all in with a company like AEW, you have to understand what you're going all in with. And I don't think a lot of people thought it through. And that's the problem when you get so angry about WWE and directions. And look, maybe it's just because I'm a little bit older, and I get that there's a lot of older wrestling fans that seem to be the douchiest and angriest and loudest of them all. But I think there's actually quite more of the younger guys who simply hasn't been through as much as us OG heads have been through. And because we have been through so much in the wrestling world, maybe we should be a little bit more understanding and give a little bit more leeway. Yes, even if you're having to drudge through a couple of years of really bad WWE programming, because we just did. We had to for arguably more than a couple of years, but we saw the signs. You always have to feel and figure that a wrestling company and the way that WWE is always going to be able to at some point figure it out, because they're publicly traded, because there's so much more than just them, because there are multiple companies and not just the company that pseudo owns them, that is also the distributing company, like the creative, it's just like there's so much weirdness with that relationship with Warner Brothers and Time Warner and all that stuff. It's just such a weird TNT, TBS and all that. Such a weird relationship, because you don't, it just something always feels wrong there, because it's like when you go back to WCW and the merger that killed the company, and the fact that same company owned the television slots. Those same things have happened nowadays, but not happen in the same way. It's such a cluster jam, and in so many ways.
And people take him seriously and send him money every month. What the hell? There's the stories, if there are any, are so bad.
That's the biggest takeaway too, is if you want to argue the fact that there's a lot of AEW stories happening, which I don't think that there are. There's more forgotten stories and drop storylines than there are actually active storylines. No one really knows what's happening a lot of the time on AEW programming. When you're watching it, maybe they know in the back, maybe they're booking it to where everyone understands it. Like, hey, yeah, let's go do this. Yeah, we're doing it all. But when you're watching it, you're kind of just lost. And then you're watching the pretty action and lights and hoping that there's not a major screw up. But right now, the commentary feels dead. Schiavone feels like he doesn't want to be there anymore. Like Schiavone, this is just classic Schiavone. He's just such a fucking front runner, but whatever. It's just this whole, I don't know. I don't see how more people don't see. And maybe it's stubbornness. And maybe if we still had the same WWE product that we have had in the past, maybe I would be a little bit more understanding and forgiving to the whole insanity that comes with some of the diatribe that comes with everyone talking about it. But we are getting a good product, Survivor Series notwithstanding, which was not the best. But all in all, WWE and wrestling on a whole is on an upswing, and it's unfortunate that AEW can't capitalize on that. Because what's the excuse now? Wrestling is hotter than ever, but AEW can't capture. This can't be a Principal Skinner where it's the children. It's the children that are wrong. No, it's not the fans that are wrong sometimes. The problem is really this simple. There are about 500,000 and shrinking fans of this company, diehards who watch every week, and they feel they're the smartest people in the wrestling room. And part of that reason for that is because Tony Khan in the past has told them they are smarter for watching AEW. He actually called them more affluent. Dickhead, they're the same people that we are. They're eating chips off their chests, watching in their mom's basement. Like, stop this BS, please. Anyway, Eric, please finish your thoughts.
That only the lowest form of wrestling intellect on the planet finds enjoyment in it. Now, you will find some people, and I think this is cool. If you just like the physical presentation of guys flying all over the place and doing all kinds of athletically amazing stuff, and you don't care about story, you don't care about characters, that's your jam. AEW is your jam. And if that's what you like, more power to you, man. I'm glad you found it. It's just not viable for the masses. It's not, as Tony calls them, for the sickos. First of all, why would you want to call your family sickos? Because the majority of them would prefer not to be called that.
I would think.
Just a hint, Tony. Just a hint. But Tony's vision for that company, I guess, is to provide content for that percentage of the audience that only cares about high risk, high altitude, fast paced action.
And that is essentially what AEW's devolved into. I don't even think that was the original intent of AEW with their real wrestling talk and all of that. It really was about story. Remember when that was the thing that everyone really hummed about AEW? Their stories, all the stories, the Dark Order, all the stories. There are no stories anymore. It really is just about the nonstop action of the product, and that's just about it. So I I have to agree with the majority of what Eric Bischoff said. I don't think he was in the wrong at all. I think he was, for lack of a better term, dead on. And the numbers back them up. Here are the November 27th show airing in Chicago. Yikes. Recorded its lowest viewership with only 536,000 viewers and a 0.15 rating in that key demographic. It's just not good. It's just not good. Think of it this year too. Last year they drew 845,000, losing over 300,000 viewers. It's just like, what do you say? If you understand this chart, you understand this chart. It's bad. It's bad. That's all you have to understand. Bad. No bueno. Nothing bueno about any of this if you are an AEW fan. However, if you're hoping for their fall, then you're just happy as hell. All right. Well, that's going to end it here for me. Thank you guys for once again another video. Back at it. Video. Little different, right? Catch some more. Dead on Dave. Find me everywhere. I'm out.